Today I'm going to be talking to Lynda Norman, a watercolorist in Kelowna, worth your time and attention. So Lynda, how do you know when a painting is finished?
That's, it depends on the painting, obviously, but the way I've developed my techniques is pretty dependent on the rest of my schedule.
Oh, right.
I have
being a mom and a grandma.
Yeah, I have a lot of things going on in my life, and so studio time is sometimes little snippets here and there.
Right.
So the processes that I've dealt with so far have been just quick and simple. I very seldom will go back to a painting, so it's usually one and done. And with watercolor, that's pretty important,
Right.
for the most part, because once you start adding more, where there's water, things will change, and sometimes that's a little bit challenging to control.
Yeah.
Especially on a canvas.
Oh, no kidding.
Because
yes,
the flow is there, and if I added something else later, that flow would be interrupted.
Yeah.
So, but on a painting on paper, I could come back to it.
Even just for highlights, perhaps, or
Yes.
finishing touches?
Yeah, for highlights I can go back. I've started on some paintings using a little spatter with some gouache, which is an opaque watercolor, basically. And I will go back in maybe and fine-tune a bit of a shoreline by removing, because until the painting is sealed, you can remove the watercolors from your surface.
Yeah.
Most paints will come back, or most pigments will come back. Some are staining and will be more difficult. And again, that's through experimentation and figuring that out.
Yeah.
I have a certain set of colors that I gravitate to, and I know what they will do for me. So, but very often I will get a painting to a point where I think I've got all the elements there. I'll stop, I'll take a photo of it, I'll leave the studio, go make a cup of tea, or prepare supper, or
give some fresh eyes.
Give it some time, and then sit down away from the studio still, look at that photo, and that will show me if I need more elements.
Yeah.
Does that look out of place? Do I need to add a bit more shadow? Do I need to throw in some more tree branches?
So occasionally you are, or sort of more often than not?
That's pretty much what I do with everyone.
Okay, good.
And if I'm happy with it after I've sat away from it for a bit, then it's done.
Yeah.
And I quickly will sign it. I will seal it. I seal all my watercolors.
Yeah.
It's probably not necessary. Daniel Smith paints, as I say, the ones I use are light fast.
Yeah.
They shouldn't fade, but especially when I'm selling paintings to people, I don't want them to have any issues. So I always put a UV protectant seal on them.
That's terrific. Yeah.
And then if I bring them to you, then if they're on paper, you will put the UV protectant glass in a frame.
UV protective, glare reduced, so bring out the best of the picture. And
that's...
But like I said, your mediums and your cotton rag and things like that, these are pretty solid things that aren't as susceptible to fading and discoloring like other mediums, like other papers, like
Yes, some mediums are
medium,
that's a big concern. So when I'm teaching a workshop or advising anybody on watercolor, I always recommend you buy the best you can afford.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Yes, any painter I know that's active, very busy, they're a stickler for getting the highest quality, and I totally understand that now, because I've done dabbled with painting in years past.
Yeah.
I've got an abstract downstairs that over 25 years. There's colors that are gone from it because they're cheap acrylics, and somehow the yellows in this one piece are just like, where'd they go?
Right. Yeah. So it's a huge concern, and if you're putting the effort into it, and I mean, a lot of mistakes are beautiful paintings in the end.
Yeah.
And
like
so
you said, stepping back, a photograph of it allows
so
another part of your brain to witness it and to assess it.
Right. So you never know when a painting is going to, come forward, and if you used, and you won't get the results. You just won't get the results. Painting on a cellulose-based paper, which is most student grade papers that you can buy in craft stores and
Yes.
and even in the art stores and online, if you don't specify 100% cotton, you're going to get a cellulose paper,
Right.
and it doesn't have the same absorption.
That's right.
So your
it
results-
responds very differently to
Absolutely.
your painting. And
So the amount of
process.
water you use versus pigment changes. The type of brush you want to use will change because you won't get the same effect. Typically, 100% cotton paper comes in various finishes as well.
Oh, yes. Right.
So there's hot press and cold press. Hot press, more of a smooth finish.
Sounds like olive oil.
Yeah, right? Some's tastier than others,
Yeah.
right? And so the hot press is a smooth finish for people who want to do more detail painting, perhaps,
Right.
you know, an animal or a portrait or something that has a lot more finer
Fine lines.
fine lines and that kind of thing. Whereas the hot press, which is what I prefer to use because my paintings are more loose and open, the hot press, and I try to get as rough as possible. So there's fine grain and rough grain. So there's lots of different,
Yeah.
you know, it becomes,
Texture and depth. And
yeah, and I think
absorption.
any kind of painting, as you progress into it, becomes almost a little scientific in some ways, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
You know, so
You're a
it's,
bit of a chemist as well.
yeah, without realizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you talk about the cotton rag paper, and I understand the exquisite nature of that for artists. And in picture framing too, it really was the norm. When I started in the 90s, cotton rag was more affordable. And it was the standard for the matting process because it's really beautiful. It just got some very subtle, unique beauty to it,
Yeah.
and very protective of artwork. Nowadays, I'm mostly using a cellulose, which is treated to be safe for artwork.
Acid-free.
Acid-free. So it's and it looks good, but I know that when I'm working with it up close and cutting it, I feel the difference.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different fiber, of course. Yeah. Thank you to the Process Art Discovery audience. It's been an absolute pleasure sharing this with you today. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel and you will experience a lot more of Process Art Discovery.